Hi there people, Ryan White here for highpointmusic.com.au. In today's video we're going to look into the fascinating journey that was undertaken by starting with a factory Squire Jazzmaster that you can currently see on your screen, and how it was transformed into this beautiful instrument containing the makings of a vintage Stratocaster that you can see right now before your eyes. So this major job was undertaken by the resident guitar guru himself, Dwight Wood at DRW Custom Guitars based here in Brisbane, who services the who's who of the Australian rock and roll scene. If you're wanting to find out more information about the DRW Custom Guitars workshop, I'm going to drop all their links in the description below. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into today's video. Okay, so in the beginning, the mission seemed simple enough. Strip the guitar back to bare bones and transform it into a custom vintage Stratocaster. So as we can see here now, the guitar is sporting the three iconic single coil pickups of a Stratocaster layout, which are all custom Blue Rock pickups in a 50s, 60s and 70s style wind, all handmade by Dwight himself. The fixed bridge has been replaced with a tremolo system installed, and the guitar is now sporting a beautiful seafoam green nitro finish with a red tortoiseshell pickguard to encase a completely new electronic system and wiring. So this all caps off the beautiful vintage look. Once the guitar had been stripped of its hardware, the next phase of the process was to begin marking out the body for routing, which would house the three single coil pickup configuration and new tremolo system. So you can see here the photos, the markings from behind and on top of the body before the routing stage. With the next phase is where the rubber starts to meet the road with this project, with the routing and hogging out of excess timber. It's at this point that irreversible changes are being made to the body of the instrument, so everything needs to be spot on and inch perfect to ensure that the 25.5-inch scale length is maintained and the dreaded snowball effect is avoided, with any potential errors here having a flow-on and compounding effect on the work that will follow through. So as you can see here on the following photos, the image on the left shows a top view of the body routed out with its new pickup configuration and bridge positioning. And on the right we can see the two levels of routing here. Down on the bottom, where the tremolo system will pass through to the other side of the body, and above we can see that there is still some of the body remaining for the springs and steel block of the tremolo system to be housed and mounted to. You can see here in this next photo the new tremolo system being checked out before moving on to the next phase of the rebuild. So now with the routing done, the next phase was, in Dwight's words, the fun part of the job. So that was to sand and strip back the original finish and prepare the guitar for its new seafoam green color. One initial hurdle that was run into in this phase was that the undercoat for the new color was reacting and bubbling on account of the original sealer still having traces in the body of the guitar. So this required the body to be stripped back a little further and dried out even more before sealing and priming was applied in preparation for the new custom seafoam green color. Now with the actual paint for this job, it was specifically put together by Anthony Cameron at Sydney Guitar Setups and Wicked Witch Nitro, with the paint being made up of a special blend of 50s nitro formula that uses oil as a binder and a retardant to make sure that the nitro cures slower. So this is to allow excess humidity to escape and avoids any blushing or cloudiness on the finish. Another point I found interesting about the paint was that it has a very short shelf life, so it needs to be ordered on account of the size and the specifics of each job. Now, with the amount of coats required to cover the body, this is largely dependent on how the nitro actually takes to the body of the guitar. In this case, there were 8 initial coats of nitro on the body, with 2 satin clears added to give it a layer of protection at the end, and then applying a light buff to the finish. What I also found interesting was how the paint actually looked in the initial stages of settling on the body, because as you can see here, the initial progress photos don't exactly look like seafoam green, but this is actually on account of the makeup of the nitro formula, which is actually 45% solid and 55% solvent. But as Dwight assured me, the end result will be exactly what we're aiming at once the solvent has time to leave the paint job. Alright, so now with the body well and truly taking shape, the next part of the construction was the pickups and pickguard. So in line with the mission statement of a custom vintage Strat configuration in this guitar, we decided on going with a pickup configuration of a 50s neck, a 60s custom whine in the middle, and a 70s custom whine in the bridge for our pickup layout. One of Dwight's trademarks with his custom Blue Rock pickups is that each pickup is wound specifically for its position, as opposed to the older way in which pickups were mass produced and placed in any position. So this requires specific wire, winding patterns and tension to produce the desired outcome of the 50s, 60s and 70s style pickups. So starting with the neck pickup, it was wound with heavy formvar copper with a 6K output. The middle pickup was wound with 60s plain enamel copper with an output of 6.3K. And the bridge pickup was wound with a 70s polycoat copper with an output of 6.7K. So after the pickups were wound onto the DRW custom in-house bobbins using Alnico 5 magnets, the next part I found fascinating and shows a level of sophistication and craftsmanship on show here, where the pickups are magnetized in-house. But because we're chasing a vintage Strat sound, the pickups were magnetized at only 85% capacity to remove some of the initial top end to give that slightly aged and worn effect, leading to that vintage sound we were going after. Cool, so let's check out these beautiful Blue Rock pickups here, starting with our 50s wind in the neck, 3, 4. Cool, combination of the 50s and 60s, 3, 4. Cool, 60s one in the middle, 3, 4. Cool, let's take it to a combination of the 60s wind in the middle and the custom 70s wind in the bridge. So. Cool, and then lastly we've got our 70s wind in the bridge here. So. Now for the next part of the build, a new pickguard was required. And in case you're wondering, a Strat configuration on a Jazzmaster style pickguard in tortoiseshell red wasn't exactly waiting to be ordered from the shelves. So this required our fearless craftsman to get his hands on a blank, and as you can see here on the screen, to be marked out, cut by hand and then hand beveled. So you can see here in the first photo we have a blank, then the hand-drawn template. And for the next lot of photos, we can see the pickguard taking shape with the hand beveling. Then you can see a Strat template to which the custom pickguard is placed over the top to mark out the specific positionings of the pickups, along with the tone and volume controls. Finally, we can see here a photo of the final result on screen, a beautiful red tortoiseshell pickguard ready to be loaded with its custom Blue Rock pickups. So moving on to the next photo, we can see here the pickguard is fully loaded with its 50s custom wind in the neck, 60s custom wind in the middle, and 70s custom wind in the bridge. And this is along with the traditional Strat layout of 2 tone knobs and a volume knob on top. In terms of the electronics on the job, it features all USA made CTS pods and a Switchcraft 5-way blade switch in order to do these beautiful sounding pickups justice. And with the remaining hardware we have on the instrument, we've got a Goto 6-point bridge with a solid steel block to keep the vintage look, as well as add a bit more weight to increase sustain and unique tonal nuances. And then the last piece of hardware to go on was the bone nut, which was specifically carved out for each individual string gauge. Now, it would be remarkable on such a rebuild that there would be no gremlins that need to be dealt with along the way. In this case, it came in the final stages of the job, with the angle of the neck being impacted by the original neck pocket and bridge on the guitar, which was causing the neck to slant at a 2-degree angle. So this required a new template to be cut and neck pocket carved out to further enable the perfect positioning of the neck with the new tremolo system as demonstrated in the photos on display. So for me to learn all about these details has added another level of appreciation and history to a guitar that has effectively gone from a beta that I would let some of my private students use in classes to this incredible looking and sounding custom vintage Strat that is already my go-to Strat sound in the studio. I can't thank Dwight Wood from DRW Custom Guitars here in Brisbane for having the guts to take on this job and applying his skill and craftsmanship to this beautiful instrument. I'll put the details below and where you can find out all you need to find out about DRW Custom Guitars and these beautiful Blue Rock pickups that are housed within it. So that brings this video to an end. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons to support the channel. And if you have any questions about this one, feel free to drop those in the comments below and I'll get back to you there. If you'd like to find out more about mastering the fundamental skill sets of contemporary guitar, follow the links below and check out my latest online course, which is the High Point Music Guitar Fundamentals program. You'll shave years off your development and fast track your playing with all the content in this course. You can even check it out on an obligation-free trial before you buy, so there's no excuse to be stuck in a rut with your playing any longer. And then lastly, if you'd love to directly contribute to the content of the channel, follow the link below and sign up for a $1 per month membership on Patreon. My name is Ryan Wyatt. Thanks very much for watching. I'll catch up with you all in the next video.